All right, welcome back. So this week we're going to focus on the various aspects that create and impact our resiliency as human beings. In this video today, we'll define the concept of resiliency, identify 9 factors of resiliency, and then examine the idea of experience-based neuroplasticity. So to begin, let's first review the PERTS model. There are 6 parts that make up this model, including self-regulation, mental flexibility, motivation and self-directed achiever, positive psychological strengths, interpersonal connection and support, and self-care and revitalization. So as we've talked about, each part is critical to building our resiliency skills and becoming a more resilient professional. And we'll continue to examine each part of these in more detail throughout the semester. So let's continue by learning more about the concept of resiliency. Over the years, some scientists have asked the question, why do some people bounce back from struggles more easily than others? The answer may lie in the person's level of resilience. According to experts, resilience has been defined as the ability to face distress and trauma without developing mental illness and remaining symptom-free, recover from a mental illness that developed after facing extreme distress or trauma, regulate the body's stress response system through relaxation, successfully navigate and adapt to challenges and circumstances in daily life. And furthermore, the author of our textbook, Dr. Aubrey, wrote that human resiliency can be thought of as both an outcome following a stressful situation and an adaptive response to the situation at the moment in time. So additionally, perhaps the most important aspect of this concept is that it can be learned and strengthened. And that's not to say that we don't or will not have limits when faced with stressful situations. On the contrary, right? We're human beings and we all have our limits. However, resiliency can help us restore balance and overcome such stressful experiences. So balance is really key. So take a moment and think about 1 or 2 individuals in your life that you would identify as being resilient. And think about what factors make them resilient. You may have identified a parent, family member, or a friend for their ability to raise children while overcoming financial hardships, maybe having relationship issues, even domestic violence situations, drug and alcohol abuse, illnesses, the list goes on. Or maybe you thought of a famous athlete for their ability to perform well in spite of injuries, disabilities, or other hardships. Whoever you thought of, one thing is definitely clear. We're inspired by these people, by their ability to overcome difficult experiences. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce someone whom I admire and who is certainly a resilient figure. So this is Viktor Frankl. You may be familiar with him if you've studied his work in the past, but if not, Frankl was an Australian neurologist, psychiatrist, and Holocaust survivor. And he endured great sufferings when he was a prisoner of the Nazi concentration camps during World War II. He lost his wife, parents, and his brother. And he credited his survival to his ability to find meaning in his sufferings. And this was the basis for the work that he named logotherapy. This is a school of psychotherapy that describes motivation as being influenced or fueled by meaning in our experiences and in life. So finding meaning in our experiences, no matter how challenging they are, is really a theme for Frankl's work. To give you a better idea of Frankl's work, I have a video that I would like us to watch together. And as you're watching this video, try and capture something that speaks to you directly.
In any given moment, we have two options: to step forward in growth or to step back into safety. Abraham Maslow. This quote by the famous psychologist Abraham Maslow, who followed the field in positive psychology and created the very well-known hierarchy of needs, is an extremely profound quote that I think each of us can apply into our lives in some way or another. What he is essentially saying here is that whenever you are faced with a difficult decision or find yourself about to sink into an old habit, you have the option to either step forward into growth or to step back into what is safe and what is easy. You see, each and every day we are faced with an endless amount of choices. Every moment is made up of one choice after another, and each and every aspect of our lives, including our circumstances, is affected by the way we choose to perceive them. Inspirational and motivational speaker Wayne Dyer once said, "Attitude is everything, so pick a good one." We all have the power to choose our attitudes towards something, and oftentimes an attitude change is all that is needed. With something as simple as an attitude change, you can dramatically transform any situation, task, or circumstance. Changing one's attitude is but one example of the power of choice that each of us has. One of the greatest examples of the power of choice comes from a man named Viktor Frankl, who wrote the incredible novel Man's Search for Meaning, which chronicles his experiences in a Nazi concentration camp and how he was able to survive these ordeals through the power of choice. One of the greatest lines from the book is this: "Everything can be taken away from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way." Viktor Frankl endured horrendous conditions, beyond anything most people could even imagine. And instead of letting it break him, Viktor Frankl instead chose to use it as a way to grow, to learn, and ultimately to teach and inspire others, through both his book and his eventual creation of logotherapy, which aims to help individuals to find meaning in their lives. Another quote that sums up Viktor Frankl's profound depth of the understanding of the power of choice is this: "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is the power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." We all go through difficult times in our lives. They are an inevitable part of life. But ultimately, it is our choice as to how we choose to perceive these difficulties. I honestly believe from my own experiences that everything in life, especially the difficult times, are an opportunity for growth. So whatever circumstances you may be facing right now, know that you have the innate power within you to choose your response. You can either choose to allow your current circumstances to bring you down, or you may use them as an opportunity to learn and to grow. You always have the choice.
All right, so Frankl's story of tragedy teaches us that no matter who we are, no matter how challenging life can be at times, a good life is still available to us. And this is shaped by the choices that we make. So one of Frankl's most famous quotes reads, "The last of the human freedoms is to choose one's attitude in any given circumstances, to choose one's own way." So for Frankl, finding meaning and making choices is a theme in his work. Additionally, resilience is also the key ingredient to experiencing happiness, satisfaction, and success in work, school, and personal life. So those who are less resilient experience higher levels of stress and difficulties adapting when things are stressful. So there are 9 factors of resiliency, and these are embedded throughout the PERTS model that we have been discussing in our course so far. And the first one is emotional regulation. This is really the heart of resilience. And it's the ability to balance emotions by containing negative emotions and calling upon positive ones. This is, again, it's really the heart of resiliency. The second one is impulse control, and this is the ability to delay gratification by controlling unreflective urges to act. Optimism is the next, and this is the belief that circumstances can change and things will get better. And we will spend an entire lecture on optimism in the second half of the course. Causal analysis is the ability to accurately identify the cause of a problem, and this includes the ability to look at our mistakes and make changes. So without this, we continue to make the same choices and repeat patterns of behaviors that aren't working for us. Cognitive flexibility, this is the ability to look at situations through another perception, to consider different options and change our responses. In doing that, we can increase our likelihood for success. The next one is internal locus of control. And this is the sense that we can influence or have power over the outcome of events in our lives. So when we have internal locus of control, we increase personal accountability for our actions and we avoid blaming others in order to protect our egos. Self-efficacy is our confidence in our ability to achieve our goals. And this can give us a sense that we are useful in our world and in our lives. Gratitude is the ability to consciously focus on good things in our lives. And in doing this, we have greater appreciation. And I would encourage you guys, if you don't already, to start practicing daily gratitude on a regular basis and see how your perception changes. And the last one is connection and support, and is absolutely one of the most important factors here to improve our well being with the ability to regulate the body and mind by using social regulation. And this is accomplished by developing and maintaining healthy situations with those important people in our lives. So now that we understand what resiliency is and the 9 factors, how can it be learned and strengthened? That's a critical question. And so we can do this by understanding our brain's ability to learn by turning to a process known as experience-based neuroplasticity. According to our textbook, our brain, including our nervous system, is designed to shape and reshape itself by means of the brain's capacity to change in response to experience. So, in order to accomplish this, it requires us to practice constantly. So, the more we practice, the more we train our brain, and the more we impact our lives and strengthen our resiliency and change our behaviors, regulate our emotions, and control our thinking as well. So, in order to strengthen our resiliency skills throughout this course and throughout life, it would require us to practice these skills on a regular basis. This can be the most challenging aspect of this course because it requires great effort and it requires us to be intentional. It also requires us to be reflective and aware of how we're behaving, what we're thinking, what our emotions are. So it also requires a constant state of self-awareness. Okay, so now that you have a better understanding of the concept of resiliency, the 9 factors of resiliency that are embedded in the PERS model, and we know that we can learn these skills in order to become more resilient through this concept of experience-based neuroplasticity. The remainder of the chapter that you're going to read about will discuss the neurobiology of human resilience, post-traumatic growth, and growth and fixed mindset, as well as how to overcome the negativity bias and the importance of building resiliency. And that is all for now. Make it a great week.